Greetings and salutations! Welcome to the EzeeLinux show. This is version 18.13, recorded March the 14th, 2018. Beware the Ides of March. Et tu, Brute? I'm Joe Collins and I'm going to be your host, and this video is not going to be terribly visually exciting. I'm just going to talk and there will be a few images on the screen. Now the reason why that is happening is because a dummy, namely me, just before the recording of this video, actually deleted all of the lovely slides that I had been working on to show you guys with bullet points and all kinds of neat information in them. And what happened was I deleted them. I don't know how I did it. So we're going to wing it. I don't have much to show on the screen this time around. A lot of folks tell me that they just listen to these videos anyway. So this is one that you can feel free to go do something else and let it play in the background. Put your earbuds on, do whatever you got to do, right? Very cool. So in this video, I want to talk about junk hardware. I want to talk about why I think that it is a really cool thing to use Linux with junky hardware and what you can do with it. So the reason why you're seeing a picture of this lovely Dell Inspiron computer is that this is the reason why I am doing this video. This is what prompted me to actually put thoughts together and go, hey, that would make a pretty decent video. Those of you who have been following my channel for a very long time will remember the lovely Dell Inspiron 570. Many of the videos posted on this channel were recorded or edited on this machine, and this machine came out in late 2009, right around the time that Windows 7 came out, and it shipped with Windows 7. And the original specs here that I got from somewhere on the web, I have no idea, but it came with an Athlon 2, had a 500 gigabyte hard drive, 4 gigabytes of RAM, ATI Radeon 4200 graphics, and blah 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 and so on. This was Dell's mid-grade consumer level machine for that year, and kind of strange because it was very highly customized and you really couldn't do a whole lot with it as far as like adding hardware to it without upgrading power supplies and everything. I never really did anything to this machine. I ran it as was. When I got the machine, I upgraded it to an Athlon 3 and I got a 750 gigabyte hard drive in it. It came with 4 gigabytes of RAM. At some point I stuffed the motherboard. The most it could take was 8 and I put that in there. Now this machine ran really, really well for a very long time. It had its quirks, it's had its problems, but it actually worked. And when I got done using it for my main machine, I moved it over and put it somewhere else on the network, and this became Cindy's daily driver machine. And she's my fiance. She does a lot of online things. She does eBay. She does, I can't even begin to tell you, she does freelance tax preparation. She's into a lot of stuff. She plays a lot of online games too. And believe it or not, this machine with the ATI integrated graphics, running Linux, did fine for her over the last, I'd say, year and a half, 2 years. But the machine was starting to show its age. It was, being quirky. There were glitches here and there. And I kind of knew it was on its way out. We had a storm the other night, and the power went off in the middle of the night, and this machine will not come back on now. Refused to boot. And I think that maybe we had a small power surge, which didn't affect any of the other electronics in the house, nor did it trip the surge protectors, but the power supply in this particular machine was so on the edge anyway. It wasn't the greatest power supply to begin with. It was the stock one that came from Dell. I never upgraded it. It just decided it was going to die. But it wasn't that big of a deal. It was just a matter of, oh, well, I've got another machine that I can put in place. So I had a laptop that I was using for testing purposes, which was an HP Pavilion G6. And it happened to be running Ubuntu 18.04 beta on it. And so all I did was grab the backup drive. This is why I write backup software and encourage you to back up as well. Grab that, created an account for Cindy on there, put all of her data on there. She didn't lose a thing. And put that down on the desk and said, here you go. Now this will do for a while. You can use this. Plug some speakers into it, put a mouse on it. She was happy. And then I was going to go off and buy another computer. And then we started talking about it. And she said, well, I kind of like this better. It's small and my desk is clean and I don't have to deal with a bunch of wires and stuff laying around. Why don't we just go with this for a while? I said, that's fine with me. because what I was going to do was go buy her a computer for $100. And the upshot of the whole thing that made me happy is that I was able to take the parts that I was using in this machine. I pulled all the memory out of it, and I put a bunch of it in the machine that I'm recording this video on, which is a Dell T3500 workstation pedestal server thing. Got weird memory requirements, but I put 12 gigabytes of memory in this machine now. And so that bumped it up a little bit. I had been running 9. The machine will take 24, but it's really kind of strange. You'd have to go look up the specs on this to understand. If you want to use just regular memory, then you're going to be limited to 12. So it'll take 6 2-gigabyte chips. So I happen to have these because I had upgraded this machine. So I took that out. This frees up a hard drive for me that I can use elsewhere. If I have another desktop come in and want to swap it in, there you go. It's even got an operating system on it and an account that I've got set up on that machine, and it's already set up. I just turn it up, turn it on, and there it goes. It's pretty cool. The reason why I'm able to do all this is because I'm not tied into really expensive brand new hardware, which is the point of this video. And that is, you can build a home network with Linux out of junk for like no money. And it's fun to do. And it's a much more satisfying computing experience. Now, I suppose this video kind of goes into nerddom a little bit, because most people who buy a computer just treat it like an appliance and they just want to have it work for them. But I think a lot of the times that folks pay for stuff they're never going to use to begin with. And a nice used machine that's well refurbished, and especially with the power of Linux running on it, I think in many ways that represents a better value than going out and buying a brand new computer. It's like buying a new car. You know, there are folks out there who go, well, I need a car, and they'll go onto a car lot and they'll buy this year's model with the latest and greatest gadgets. If you can afford that, that's great. But a lot of folks out there just need something reliable that'll get them back and forth to work. Same thing with a computer. Maybe you just need something that'll do basic stuff. Why go out and spend $800, $1,500, $2,000 or more dollars on a machine that you're probably never going to use but 10% of the hardware capability in anyway, right? So you get more for less. And the lovely part is, if it breaks, so what? At the prices that you pay for refurbished hardware, big deal. I mean, it's just like, okay, I'll just buy another one. Keep good backups, or if you've got more stuff laying around, just copy the data over, swap out the hard drives. You know, you can do that with Linux. If you have an old machine that does not use UEFI, then chances are, with Ubuntu, Debian, and Linux Mint, I know this for sure. Now, I don't think Arch Linux likes this, whether you have UEFI or not. But if you're using something like Linux Mint, 9 times out of 10, you can take the drives out of one machine, put it in the other machine, boot it up, and you're back where you were. It detects all the hardware, reconfigures everything. You may have to, of course, reset up your things like your Wi-Fi, and you might have to install some drivers here and there, but it works. And eBay is just crammed full of sellers who refurbish computers. A lot of these corporate lease computers. When I was looking just yesterday, I don't know how many, I came across one guy that had like 400 Core Duo Dell Optiplex desktops, and he was shipping them with 8 gigabytes of memory in them. And I was like, one of these would be perfect for Cindy. I almost bought one. I came real close because the whole thing was like $100. I didn't need a monitor. I didn't need speakers. I didn't need a keyboard. Well, actually, I did need a keyboard, but it doesn't matter. And I almost bought this thing, and I didn't because she decided, well, no, I kind of like this. I want to stay with the laptop. It kind of compacted her life a little bit and cleaned things up, and for her, it's cool. And as long as she's happy with it, I'm happy with it. I still may buy another computer somewhere down the road, but I don't have to. Anyway, if you go on eBay and you just look for desktop PC and put in refurbished, so much will come up. And a lot of these guys do a really good job. They go through the machines and they'll upgrade the memory in them, and they'll put a new SSD or a new hard drive in it, and they'll just clean the dust out, test the power supply, make sure there isn't any bad capacitors or no big problems in there. Take the CPU off and put some new thermal paste behind it. So there's a lot of neat stuff that can be done, and these machines will just keep on running at that point. a machine that's 3, 5, 10 years old, as long as it's well taken care of and well maintained, you'd be surprised. They're built like tanks anyway. Computers are one of the things in the world that's really, really well built. I mean, and that's because a computer company can't put out junk. If they do, then they're going to get a lot of problems from customers. So they tend to be built to a pretty high standard, believe it or not. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't computers out there that are junk, don't get me wrong, but just the basic standards of what most computer companies put out, they're pretty high. These machines will keep going. Laptops, on the other hand, they tend to burn themselves up over time, and I think you probably get less mileage out of a laptop than you would out of a desktop computer. But there's plenty of great laptops available online for sale that are refurbished. A lot of HP Elite books and a lot of great Dell Studio Inspirons are out there. Some of these machines are Core Duo, i3, i5. They're decent. HP G6s are out there, and all of these machines run Linux really, really well. So if you're sitting there, and especially for people who are just starting out with Linux, people have it in their head that they're going to have to buy a lot, put a lot of money into it. No, you don't. I mean, you can get a laptop like a little HP Elite book for $200 that will come with everything you need. You can load Linux on it. You can learn Linux on that. And if you don't like Linux, big deal. If you can give the computer away, you could do something with it. $200 is not that big a deal, money-wise, to make an investment to learn something. I mean, that's like nothing these days for a lot of folks. Don't get me wrong, I'm poor and I'm very cheap, which is one of the reasons that I do all this. $200 is a lot of money for me. But the point of it is that when you compare it to $1,500, $2,000 that some people will go out and drop for a laptop that's brand new, that's not that big a deal. You can also, it's just a lot of fun to scrounge and work on old computers. You know, everybody seems to have one these days. They've got one in the corner. Well, I bought a new one, and I haven't been using this one. And if you can get a hold of those machines, then you can do the refurbishing yourself. It's really not that much to it. If you know a little bit about the hardware, I mean, basically you clean the machine, get all the dust out, clean out the fan, make sure that's still working, and then go on YouTube and find a how-to video that shows you how to remove the CPU and put some thermal paste back under it and reseal it down, you know, the fan on top, the heatsink, put that on top of it, and put more memory in the machine, and you'd be amazed that they'll just keep on running, and it's fun. And so you can end up, you use tools like SSH and X2Go and maybe even something like TeamViewer that you could use to remotely administer machines. All of the machines on my network are administered through SSH. So I can jump in and, you know, my kids are on the computer doing something and I'm in the background running updates. I'm checking on what they're doing. I can see the processes they're running. It's really great. I'm in total control of this network and just try and keep everything up and running. Some prices that I wanted to throw at you just to let you, give you some idea of what you're dealing with. And here's where having the nice slide would have been nice, but I don't have it. So I'm just going to do it off the top of my head because I went and looked a lot of this stuff up. So when you get a new computer, one of the first things that you're probably going to want to do is change the hard drive. Running a really, really, really old hard drive is not a good idea. You can use software like disks in Linux to show you, if you look at the smart data using disks, you can see how many hours that drive has been running. And usually hard drives are good for 3 to 5 years. Once you get above 5 years for a regular desktop hard drive, then you're probably cruising for a crash pretty soon, and it would need to be replaced. If you're talking about 3.5-inch desktop hard drives, you may think, well, isn't everything gone to little SSDs and M2s? Well, servers still run 3.5 hard drives, and for a lot of reasons, some of those servers, they want spinning drives. So there's plenty of really high-end spinning drives out there that don't cost a lot of money. My favorite drive, and I've got a bunch of them, is the Western Digital Caviar Black 1 terabyte hard drive. Now, yes, they have 2 and 3 and 4 and 8 terabyte drives these days, but we're talking about from a bang for the buck sort of thing. If you don't need a terabyte for, I'd say, 90% of the people watching this video would be plenty of storage to do most anything on a desktop PC. Now, if you're somebody who collects movies or, you know, whatever, you got special needs, you got special needs. In that case, you might want to put a network area storage device up there, network attached storage, or whatever NAS stands for. I always forget. But the thing is that if you just want to put a hard drive in a machine, they're fast, they're reliable, and I mean, these things run routinely for 10 years and don't quit working. They're wonderful, and they cost $75. Now, if you absolutely positively must have an SSD, just keep this in mind. As of the recording of this video, a 500 gigabyte SSD is going to cost you probably about $150. And then on top of that, if you're putting it in a desktop, you may have to invest more in special hardware so you can mount it properly in the desktop. They make adapter kits that, so now you're talking about probably spending another $20 to $40 on that. So now we're up to almost, you know, $200 for 500 gigabytes, whereas you could spend $75 for 1 gigabyte, and then if you wanted for that same price, you know, you could get 2 of those drives for that kind of money. Now, if you don't care about that, like it's a laptop and all you need is like 500 gigabytes of space, and you just want a regular spinning drive, those are 30 to 50 bucks. I mean, you can get Western Digital, which is my preferred brand of hard drive for computers, for not much money, and you can have the machine up and running. The big bottleneck to performance on a computer actually is not the CPU. The hard drive definitely contributes to it, because if you have an SSD, you know, they're just super crazy fast, even on old computers. But really, to improve performance and to make the machine do more, you want to stuff more memory into the machine. Big time. You want to stuff more memory into the machine. And you can do it. You don't have to be a genius. You don't have to, you know, if you're afraid of opening up a computer to do that, don't be. It's really, really quite simple. And as far as memory is concerned, the company that I recommend that you talk to first is Crucial. Crucial Technologies. This is their website. It's a screenshot of their website here. And I'm not going to put it in the description because I don't want to put commercial sites in the description. But I will tell you it's really simple. It's www.crucial.com. And these guys sell memory, and they sell hard drives, and they sell, they sell SSDs, flash memory, and stuff like that. They don't sell spinning drives. These guys sell it, and I highly recommend it. And whatever computer that you have, you can do a search here, and it'll tell you what's available for it, what kind of memory upgrades you can do, and they charge decent prices, and you get good memory. I have never had a negative experience with Crucial, and I have been using them to buy memory for computers for over 10 years. Never, ever, ever had a problem with them. And not only that, you can contact them. You can call them if you're not sure about something. When I first got my Dell T3500, which has the weird memory in it, I called Crucial to ask them about how can I go about upgrading the memory in the machine, and what would entail, what did I need, and they were extremely helpful. I mean, extremely helpful. So that's just a flat-out recommendation from me. Now, here's the thing. You have to know what kind of computer you have. So if you have some crazy box that somebody put together, you know, they went out and got a generic case, and then they put a bunch of parts in it, and they said, here's a computer. You're going to have to know what kind of motherboard you've got. They can still help you. As long as you can figure that out, and usually just opening up the BIOS will tell you what motherboard it is. You can get it off of there. You can just see what kind of memory is already in the machine, and they'll be able to help you do that if you find it. Then this I highly recommend. And putting more memory in a computer is the quickest way to make it do more. A lot of, back in the Windows XP days, I mean, there are still a few XP machines out there, and Windows 7, when that first came along, 2 gigabytes was considered to be okay, and 4 gigabytes was better. And of course, now you have people that go around talking about, a lot of the nerds will say, well, you need at least 16 gigabytes of memory, or you're just not computing. That is the biggest bunch of nonsense on the planet. Okay, my experience is The bare minimum that you need to have decent performance out of most Linux desktops is 4 gigabytes of memory. If you want to make that a little sweeter, go to 8, because 4 gigabytes, if you have 2 browsers open and you got a video playing and you got doing, now you're starting to maybe get to a point where the machine's going to have to start using the swap space, all that kind of stuff. So kind of nice to have 8. 8 gigabytes opens up a lot of doors. Now you can play some pretty basic games, you can do things, and the machine's not going to breathe too heavy. If you are going to be doing things like running virtual machines, you are going to be editing audio and video files, doing really intense graphics work. If you are going to be playing more serious games, then you definitely probably want to have more than 8 gigabytes of memory in the machine. And these days, a lot of the machines that they're selling just come with 16, 32 gigs of RAM, which for about 95% of the people who use computers, you will never, ever, ever take advantage of all of that. Because most people open up a browser, watch a video, play one game, do this, and they never, ever max out the memory in the machine. They never need the 8 cores in the processor. They never need all of that memory to make all that stuff happen. So for day-to-day users, not such a big deal. I have one laptop, and it's really kind of funny. I've got 2 laptops. Now, one laptop, the one that Cindy is using, has an i3 in it, 4-core laptop processor, has integrated Intel graphics, and it has 8 gigabytes of RAM. Okay? The other computer is a Dell Studio, and I've never done anything to the computer. I bought it refurbished. I've had it for like 3 or 4 years. It's wonderful. It just keeps going. That machine has a 2-core Duo processor. So it's a Core Duo Intel processor, and it has 4 gigabytes of RAM. I've never upgraded it. I could if I wanted to, but I've never felt the need to do it. And it has Intel graphics in it. Not integrated, but it actually has a graphics card. The machine that outperforms the other is the Dell. The Dell actually runs better than the HP, even though the HP's got more memory, and it's got more cores on the processor. I don't know why, but that machine outruns it. But one of the big contributing factors that I do know why is the fact that it has the separated graphics. It has a separate graphics card in it, and it's not integrated graphics. It's a Core Duo with integrated graphics. So it will actually play videos really well and play games too. My kids play games on it all the time. They play all kinds of online games, Flash games and Minecraft and stuff. The machine works beautifully. So would it be better if the machine had 8 gigabytes of RAM? Sure. Would it probably be better if it had a quad core in it? I don't know. Those Core Duos, man, in some ways I think they were better than some of the early quad cores, but that's all opinion. That's just me playing around with machines and my observations. But memory is a big deal, and you need to make sure that you have as much memory as you can stuff in the machine. Some of the really older machines, as most they'll take is 2 gigabytes, but hey, you'd be surprised what you can get those things to do on Linux. It's amazing. So I've pretty much covered what I wanted to cover in the video, and I do appreciate... Where's my... there we go. I don't know why I did that. Pressed the wrong button. That's why it did it, dummy. Your feedback is always welcome, and I just love the idea of playing with junk hardware. And if you guys are into that sort of thing, scrounging it up, keeping... if you're like me and you keep a box of parts on hand, I love to hear your stories about how you've gotten some machine that somebody threw out on the... put it out on the trash heap, and you salvaged it and made it run. It's gorgeous. It's wonderful. It's one of my favorite things. Please be sure to give EzeeLinux a like on Facebook. Thanks. And also check out freedompenguin.com for lots of really cool stories about Linux and content. Our videos appear there, and Matt Hartley posts videos, and many other people who are active in talking about Linux in the community contribute to Freedom Penguin. So there's always something fun to look at. And of course, check out EzeeLinux.com. That is the central hub for the entire project here. So thank you for watching. Made it through, didn't we? We did it. No notes and everything. And I don't even think I made any huge glaring errors. That's pretty awesome. Talk to you guys again soon.